So this is a study question review for Communist Manifesto. Number one, who are the bourgeoisie? They are an economic class. That is, they're a certain type of person that makes their money in a certain way. And they make their money from capital, which is wealth, just savings, but capital of a certain kind. They're the factory owners. They're the people who employ people, uh, pay them wages to labor for them, and they make money off of that labor. So the typical bourgeois that Marx is thinking of is a factory owner, but anybody who makes their money from their capital, their wealth, rather than through wage labor, working, selling your labor for in exchange for wages, would be part of the bourgeoisie. They are also the ruling class of Marx's society, the society of 1848. At least that's what the claim is. They are the ones who have come to be the dominant class. They have pushed aside the traditional landed aristocracy as the ruling class, and now they run the show. Number two, who are the proletariat? They're workers, wage earners, typically factory owners, but anybody who survives by selling their labor in exchange for wages is a proletariat. They're the working classes. They are the people who have emerged in parallel with the bourgeoisie. It's just that the proletariat are the have-nots, whereas the bourgeoisie are the haves. And so the proletariat is the poor working class. And Marx thinks the revolutionary class, too, the ones who will be forced to completely revolutionize modern societies. Number three, how does Marx characterize the modern representative state? It is but a committee for managing the affairs of the bourgeoisie. That is, Marx sees the kind of governmental structures that we saw emerging and being promoted by documents like the Declaration of the Rights of Man, the Federalist Papers, the U.S. Constitution, that it's all a sham, right? The modern representative state is the representative democracy or republic that James Madison was advocating in Federalist Number 10. But Marx sees it as simply a cover. It does the bidding of the bourgeoisie. So the politics are controlled by economics, you may say. Whoever the dominant economic class is, they use the government or the state as a way of serving their interests. So the modern representative state is just from the point of view of the Communist Manifesto, is just the servant of the bourgeoisie. Number four, how are modern capitalist societies different from previous forms of society, according to Marx? Well, all societies, all hitherto existing societies, at bottom rest on economic exploitation. Whether you're an ancient slave, a medieval serf, or a modern industrial worker, you are being exploited. That is, the ruling class enriches itself by exploiting the labor of the lower class. What's different is that this is all out in the open in modern society. This is that key passage where he talks about how in modern bourgeois capitalist society, it's callous cash payment, which is up front and visible. That is, in previous societies, there was this myth or mystique where, let's say, the ruling classes not only exploited the lower classes, but they were their natural superiors, or they took care of them, or everything was sort of couched in this religious ideology. But modern societies, everything's out in the open. Everything is clearly about exchange, as Adam Smith would say. So the truth is easier to see. It's not as veiled in some sort of mythology. Number five, what does Marx describe the proletariat as a commodity? Oh, sorry, interruption. Number five was I on? Why does Marx describe the proletariat as a commodity? Because the proletariat has to sell his labor to survive. And that labor is a commodity. That is, a commodity is just something that's sold. And the price of commodities goes up and down according to supply and demand. And proletariat needs to sell their labor, and the price of labor goes up and down, and usually goes down. So the proletariat is like a thing in capitalist society, Marx says. I mean, it's the whole sort of vision of Marxist revolution is that the working person, the proletariat, is treated like a thing instead of like a person. And so what's necessary is to revolutionize society so people are treated like people and not like things. So proletariat is a simple commodity, something that's bought and sold, just like any other thing, according to Marx and Engels. Number 6, what does this document think is the inevitable future of modern capitalist society, and why? What they saw as the inevitable future was revolution, communist revolution, where the proletariat takes over and becomes the dominant class, but really the only class, because the idea is that in communist society there'll be no exploitation, so there'll be no classes. There'll just be common ownership of the means of production. So the inevitable future, they think, is that modern capitalist society will be revolutionized and turned into something else, communist society. Why? They thought that because the proletariat is just a commodity, and a cheaper and cheaper commodity, that the conditions for most people as workers, because most people are workers, will become so difficult, so really untenable, that the proletariat will be forced out of simple self-preservation to revolutionize society, just as a way of preserving themselves. Just they thought it was inevitable.